the Junior Governor Makueni, in recognizing the problems affecting Makueni, we did our research before the election and established that the biggest challenge in Makueni was the scarcity of water, and even where the water is available, it is too far off from the people who are using it. And the third one, even when it is available, it is not clean water. So those problems in one led to us making sure that water becomes the first priority in our agenda. Even following SDG6, we thought that if we can provide water and we can make sure that it is accessible and it's clean, then we can beat the deficit. Believe it or not, we found a deficit of nearly 26 million cubic meters. I can reliably report that we have, whilst at the time of the election we were doing 26 million cubic meters, we are now at 30 cubic meters, and we have reduced the accessibility of water to nearly 4 kilometers. That's just as part of it. We also realized that the best option, the best way to ensure that we have clean water is exploit all sources of water, all of them, including borehole, dams, desilting dams, and sand dams, as part of a deliberate scheme to ensure that we have clean water and access to water. So the first project that I did in the supplementary budget of 2022 was the Ndokuma Dam, doing about 3,600,000 cubic meter. It's quarter full now, and desilted several other dams as a deliberate attempt to ensure that every ward has an earth dam that they can use. We have also invested, when it comes to boreholes, we have invested in a thermometer. Now, what is a thermometer? Most people don't know that we have now a predictable way of determining where water is and how much water is available. We can do that using technology. And that has helped us in terms of the navigation and in terms of planning and budgeting and making it easier to actually say we can do a borehole and we do it. A lot of our boreholes that we have done in the various parts of the county, some have yielded up to 21 cubic meters, others up to 38 cubic meters per hour, and therefore the second problem that arises is the distribution of that water. So in conceptualizing projects of water, we have said several things. One, do a borehole or whatever it is you're going to do in terms of a borehole as a sand dam. Two, make sure at the point where it is done there is a tank and a water kiosk, and use that distribution so that we solve the problem of so many boreholes sunk yet the water has not been distributed. Two, on making sure that the water is clean, we have also incorporated the question, the program of water treatment for the facility. So in one of our flagship projects in Mboni Mulima Dam, we're going to do as part of the flagship water treatment so that people can access clean water. Three, problems we have found with water in Makueni is the use of energy. And a lot of the boreholes that were done ended up using a lot of money for purposes of pumping, and the long and short of it, much after a while, the water is not available because of the high power bills. We've incorporated non-renewable sources of energy into our water projects and extraction. Of course, the last one, the sand dam, we have now realized from the few projects that we have done that you can actually get clean, unadulterated water from sand dams from the river. And we managed to complete one in September and many others, which can provide water throughout the year. So these are many programs in the partnerships that we have done, and we have entered into many partnerships. This morning we were talking about the same with World Bank on another program they are doing the beginning this year on what they call K-wash, water sanitation hygiene, and that is exactly where we want to go. So they wanted to know from us how we do water governance, because on top of everything that I have said, the tail end of this is sustainability of water projects, and 2, water governance. That's what has led to a lot of problems. When I came in and at the Senate, I've answered questions of non-revenue water. Most counties are doing up to 50-60% non-revenue water. We've managed to reduce non-revenue water in Makueni to a single digit. And by doing so in a project we are doing in a place called Kalawa, we have put smart meters and we have formed companies, water companies, where Makueni is a shareholder to ensure that we can minimize on non-revenue water. In the case of some of the water resources, including the Northwest water that brings water from Kilimanjaro, we have entered into an agreement. We want to buy water in bulk, because that's the way to go. Buy water in bulk, pay for it, and then ensure that the water is distributed. We have figured that we can actually solve the water problem if we are serious. With the heavy rainfall that we received, we are certain that the water table has improved, because up to the time, at the time of my inauguration, the water ponds are dried up, dams are dried up, bowls are dried up. So we are fortunate enough that some of the dams that we did, or some that we have found and we have managed to fix them, we are certain that we can have water for a long time. So those are some of the deliberate measures that we have put in. I told the wards, because we have a robust public participation framework on conceptualization and planning of projects, that you put in money as a priority, we'll match it. Put in money in your budgets in terms of planning, we will match it. And my intention is to have, in terms of mapping, map all the water sources and available sources for purposes, water sources in every ward. Our collaboration with national government is yet another way of plugging into the water that we want to deliver. Going by the pronouncements that have been made, by either June, July of this year, Thwake Dam will be ready. There's 43,000 cubic meter coming to water, clean water, treated, coming to water, and proceeding all the way to Kilonzo. At the same time, there's water leaving Thwake, going to up to Ulilenzi and Masongaleni in Kibuzi East for irrigation. So those components we are working hand in hand. In the meeting I've had with World Bank today, we have put together the concepts of water for use and water for irrigation, so that then we, in conceptualizing every project, we can have those two components put in: water for use, domestic use, and then water for irrigation. Question of tariffs and how we charge people. We figure that since Makueni is 78% agriculture reliant, we cannot have agriculture in Makueni when we don't have water. We figure out water, then we'll have sorted two problems at the same time: food security, and at the same time would have made sure that people have food not only for their domestic consumption, but at the same time they can have food for export. I've just left walked into a depot here in Wote, where somebody was packing our mangoes for export. Export mangoes being packed into refrigerated trucks to go to Mombasa. 2 trucks are packed out here collecting our mangoes. Imagine if we had irrigation and reliable water. This financial year alone, we have set aside 85 million for 272 acres of irrigation. We initially conceptualized that we would do 500, but the Water Resources Authority has only allowed us to abstract 2 for 272 acres from Athi River, as a way of making sure that we can utilize the fact that Athi River is our biggest source of water and it doesn't dry and is running throughout the year. So those are all the deliberate efforts we are making. Every time we sit with a partner, we tell them water. We want water for this, we want a dam here, we want irrigation here, etc., etc., so that we can tap as much potential as possible. We realize that there's only so many boreholes you can do. We realize that there's only so many boreholes you can do at a time, and therefore we want to think bigger in terms of how we are going to ensure that we have reliable water sources for those 2 categories of things I have said, and mega dams is the key. Our collaboration with national government, we have given them two dams We have conceptualized in the partnership with them on their 100 or 1,000 dams that they want to do, and we hope in the future we can do many, many others. We deliberately have used our own dam equipment and dam team. We found a dam team already existing, and it has become easier for us to actually do dam projects. The one we have begun is not too far away from here. It's called Ngosini Dam, using our own machinery and our own expertise. We are going to do that dam, which is easily 27 acres, producing 67 to 72,000 cubic meter of water in 45 days. That is what my vision is. Grow the unit to much bigger, use our own resources, and make sure that we can conceptualize these projects as soon as possible.
Maybe since the inception of those ambitious projects.
There's this problem. First, I think, I don't recall, maybe 2018 or 2019. And I raised this issue at the Senate. The standard gauge railway was constructed in such a manner that it blocked known waterways. As a result, the waterways are directed into one tunnel, and as we speak now, it has caused a big crater. And actually, it's in the last season, people were displaced from their land, and it's going to happen again because it's now a river course, big one. We called them, wrote a letter, and through Department of Infrastructure and our ECM, they had a meeting, but they didn't take it seriously. So Sultan Ahmad has now a flood problem, which was not there before the standard gauge railway. And I certainly think that the problem has not gone away, because the last rains were easily, not as much as you would have expected. So even the road on Mombasa Road at Sultan, there's not I predict that unless we sort this problem, one day we'll wake up and it has been washed away, the one that was washed away on your way to Wajir or Garissa. Same, because it's the same problem. And we still think that we can find a better solution of making sure that the water coming from Kajiado does not come through one channel, affect the people of Makueni, and affect people in Kilonzo who are now having a flood that they never had. Yes, thank you. My appeal to national government is on water matters particularly. Having sat in Makueni as governor for the last 1 year, I now know that we have capacity to do dams. We have capacity to do dams. So I see no reason to have bottlenecks on dams, and I see no reason for government to give us conditional grants on dams. They give us the resources, we will do the dams ourselves, because we have got the capacity to do so. And even on the distribution of water. So I think we should have a better collaboration with the national government in terms of water, and I think we can map our sources together in collaboration with national government, so that we are just not doing things that don't have outcomes. The outcomes at national and ours must be the same. The national government has put in a lot of money, whether it's Itare Dam, whether it's Twake Dam and others, where those big dams have been conceptual, but you don't see them quickly. They have not been very, very helpful. The other one is to national government unlocking the problems we are having with donors and partners. Our conditional grants are stuck, whether it's in water, whether it's in agriculture. Now, our partners who are supporting us up to 40% of our development budget are wondering. This morning I've had a meeting where the Department of Agriculture is about to lose 300 million that is supposed to be utilized by end of February. Those small little things are becoming an impediment to our development agenda. And I am very specific on water, because if national government can let go so that we engage our partners directly, and they don't have to give us the funding, they can do these projects in partnership with us, then we can ensure that this country is food secure, because that is actually the problem. We are net importers of every little thing that we consume, and there's no reason. if we figure out irrigation, make it available. We have partners who are willing to support us. Look at the regime in terms of taxes on machinery concerning water, and make sure that it is easier for us to acquire equipment without paying a lot of taxes, because I see no reason, and make it a national agenda. Make it a national agenda, because the Constitution recognizes under Article 43 that this is a fundamental right, but it's a very painful, expensive fundamental right to deliver to the people of Kenya. In developed countries, things like water are not charged. People get water for free. And we can do it. I think we can do it. And if we're going to charge people for water, they can still get that water at a reasonable cost. The bulk of Kenyans, including some in Makueni, are paying rates that are not even international. I don't even know where those rates are, because if you buy a 20-liter jerrycan for something close to 30 shillings, I mean, it's inhuman. You can't do that. And then, of course, because of the bottlenecks and the bureaucracies and red tape, the water vendors have taken advantage. And they're taking advantage of common mwananchi. The ordinary citizen of Kenya is paying through his nose for water, and it is not necessary. It is not necessary because it's available. The water is available. It's a natural resource. I would ask national government to also protect the resource called water. I have a very, very big passion about our rivers, and because of my experience and travel, and I have traveled, you will be shocked if you go to the big cities in the world, you name it, there is water in the city. Whether it's Geneva, whether it's Stockholm, whether it's Beijing, whether it's Germany, whether it's Berlin, you will find a water source, or River Thames in London, or Dubai. So there is a connection between developing cities and developing economies and availability of water, but clean water. They protect their water sources with everything they have. I have used an example that when you make the sabotage of the standard gauge railway in economic crime, and somebody then pours effluent into a river, we are inconsistent in terms of our thinking of the value of our standard gauge railway vis-a-vis the pollution of our water sources. I think that the people who are polluting our water sources ought to be punished heavily for that sort of pollution. When Shell had a pollution in America, they paid a huge tidy sum of nearly 5 billion shillings to clean the river. So our agenda on water is not just giving people water, but ensuring even our water sources are protected with everything we have, so that then we can guarantee people clean water for cooking, for irrigation. Dirty water goes into our food, the food comes to our tables, and people are consuming products out of effluents, and these effluents are actually very bad effluents. It's not just sewer becomes a good thing when you think about the industrial effluents that are getting into Earth River. It's a tragedy. Metal that is inevitably in people's bodies, and then you wonder why people are suffering from a very unknown ailments. We have three flagships in water. One in Kibwezi, two in Boni. Those are flagships, big. There are many others, but those ones are big projects. One in irrigation, two on water distribution, means abstraction of water and distribution, and the other one is an existing dam. We clean it, the water, and then do the repiping of it. Those ones are readily available as low-hanging fruits that we can do quickly. Eventually, I have told you that we have mapped our water sources, we have mapped our dams. We want to ensure that every budget we put in as much money as possible for distribution of that water. So we have to be very clear. Then we have entered into partnerships with people like WHH, who are doing marvelous things on distribution of water. Water Mission the same, doing 20 kilometers of water distribution to 7 markets. Like the projects they are doing, there's a 225,000 cubic meter concrete tank and with distribution to various towns and various places. So I think that we are privileged as Makueni to have partners, very many partners on water. They discovered that we have water. We recently sunk a borehole in a place called Sultanahmud Primary, 28,000 cubic meter. The donor came on the spot and said, we're going to distribute this water for you. So those are the things I'm talking about. They want to see us do the work. And since the equipment is ours, machinery is ours, there's no expense, it becomes easy to sink a borehole and get the water distributed. I got a deal for a ward called Kalawa for 5 boreholes. By the end of December, they are done 3. Now they are moving to equipping and they will do another 2. So I have seen the potential of making sure that people can get water. It is availability of resources. By the way, it's half of the problems. Availability of resources has hindered conceptualization of all these projects, and of course budget making. Budget making means that even though our intention is to do huge projects or do bigger projects, whether it's dams or water pans or boreholes, there's a restriction, of course, because of public participation on how the budgets are utilized. So we have that limitation. But even then, I still think that the inconsistency of the money flow from national government is affecting our water projects. It's really a tragedy that the recent rains have just passed would have easily done much more. But whatever we have done, we are satisfied because all those dams are full. So we are going to be extremely deliberate. I've just said 1 dam per ward. The previous problems and what affects most water programs, whether it's boreholes or dams, is management, sustainability and management. We have had a robust scheme of ensuring that our water management is done. So we conceptualize its use, who is going to manage it in advance, so that we have a water resource association to manage the water so that it is sustainable. That is where the problem comes in, that you do a good project, it is properly conceptualized, but eventually it is mismanaged and not done properly. And the other small components, like the components of energy, are not properly figured out, so that the expense becomes too much because of management. Those become hindrances. The question of land, we have agreed. We do boreholes and dams where there land is. If land is offered, we sign a deal and the land is given to us. Not before that is done, because we have about nearly 10 projects that are stuck because of issues of land ownership. It was done on private land. Somebody passes on, and the person who comes later obviously starts claiming other things. Yeah.
And in this coming financial year, we are like to